Aloha! Welcome to Return on Wellness, a web series brought to you by Caesars Entertainment.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of season 4 of Return on Wellness. We are back, and I could not be more excited for our guests today. But first, a friendly reminder, this episode is presented by Caesars Entertainment. You may not think Caesars when you hear wellness, but actually they have 15 properties in 3 different cities where they offer their wellness menu that makes integrating wellness into your corporate meetings and events and conferences super easy. There's going to be a QR code at the end of the episode that you can scan, and that will give you all the details on the Caesars wellness menu. All right. So today's guest is someone that I met a little while ago, then I got to interact with on a deeper level at the Global Wellness Summit, because she is the chairman and CEO of the Global Wellness Institute, Susie Ellis. She's joining me today, and we're going to talk about wellness evidence. We might talk about some trends. We have a number of things we're going to dive into, but one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about is the wellness evidence website that y'all have launched that I learned about at Global Wellness Summit. That's a lot of global and wellness that I've said. But first, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell the viewers about your background and how you ended up here.
Thank you, Dave. I love being here. Appreciate it. My background is a little bit unusual in that my entire career has been in this space. And that's a long time because it's a new space. Wellness is new. But I started in the spa arena. And in the 70s, we didn't use the term wellness. In fact, the term wellness just the last 15 years. Before that, it was the spa industry. I started in the spa industry with the Golden Door, which is a Southern California top spa, still today. And that's where I began. I have always been in the spa industry. Back in the 70s, there was a handful of spas. And then as time went on, day spas came along and resort spas and started growing. And then at some point in my career, my husband and I purchased a company called SpaFinder in New York, which was a magazine. And now we were looking at helping people find spas all over the world. We would go to events. There was an event in Europe, there's iSpa in the United States, and an event in Asia. But there was no global event that brought everyone together. We had attended the World Economic Forum in Davos for a couple of years, and it was right after that there was an event in Asia where we realized there needs to be a global event for the spa industry. And I say spa industry because there really wasn't an industry at that time, but it was the spa space. We decided to go ahead and launch that and do a World Economic Forum of spas. And so we decided to host it in New York because we felt that was very central. We called it the Global Spa Summit, and we invited people from all over the world. It was invitation only. We modeled it after the World Economic Forum, which is a meeting that I really like, and they do very well, obviously. So we modeled after that. And we brought people together. And what we found is that there was a lot of disagreement around the world about what a spa is. Some spas in Europe, for example, were all water-based, and that's what they defined as spa. In the U.S., it was more fitness-oriented. And in Asia, it was a little more mind, body, spirit. And everyone was disagreeing. So in New York, on that first, it was in 2007, when we all met, there was a lot of disagreement, and we didn't know each other. But we got together and realized maybe working together, there could be things we could accomplish that none of us could accomplish on our own. And what we realized that we needed is figures. We needed numbers because businesses want numbers and countries want numbers. And we needed numbers, investors. And so we hired, I had seen a report online at that time, a golf report that I thought, this is what we need for the spa industry, some was to aggregate everything. So we ended up hiring SRI International, which was Stanford Research Institute, a very credible company, to say, help us. And they spent a year doing research. And the next year, when we met again in New York, they presented a way forward with figures that showed the economics of the spa industry around the world. And the main thing that they said that was very insightful was that the way forward they would recommend is to define spa in a way that is very generic, places that help people improve body, mind, spirit. And then underneath that have different categories. So you could have thermal spas, medical spas, day spas, resort spas, Ayurvedic spas. And then you can add the revenue of all of those together and you get a large number that the media, investors, governments will look at. And that solved everything because the next year when people came together, they were okay because they liked their category. They might have been a thermal spa or fitness spa, but they were part of something larger. And so that's how the Global Wellness Summit began. So it was part of SpaFinder to begin with. Later on, when we sold SpaFinder, we kept the summit. We added the institute because we found the research was so valuable that we kept investing in research every year.
I have to ask because I think this is one of the important things that people are going through their journeys of wherever they are in life. You clearly had a moment, a flashpoint after it sounds like World Economic Forum, where you're like, we need this for our industry.
Yes.
Was there something that triggered that, or were you just at dinner? What was the catalyst there?
I think having attended a lot of events, and I know you talk a lot about events, Europe and Asia, and it was very fragmented. But it was important, and I love the idea of people getting together. That's where I learned the most from other people, especially traveling internationally, because in Europe, they are talking about different things than Asia and the US. So I think it was an evolution, but clearly after the World Economic Forum, I realized that was a global event. That was an event where people came together, and it wasn't all about marketing and selling. It was about thought leadership. That's what I just felt like that's what I want to do. I want to put together an event like that, bring in top people who are thought leaders, and then facilitate those conversations. That's
Perfect.
what we did.
Love it. Let's talk a little bit about Global Wellness Summit. What are 2 to 3 things that you feel like people need to know that they may or may not know about that event?
It's a thought leadership event. And honestly, I would say I've seen so much business done at that event because of relationships. It is about relationships. That's what we're very good at facilitating. It's not thousands of people. We have 550 people. We sold out this year. But the amount of people and what we create in terms of people meeting each other. And we give out a delegate directory where there's contact information. Nobody does this, but contact information with emails.
And a threat.
And the threat that if you use this for marketing, you will not be invited to another summit. And honestly, we modeled after the World Economic Forum because they had a delegate directory or an attendee directory. And they facilitated those connections because that's where you can do business. But it's one-on-one. It's not a blanket market, whatever I'm selling to everyone. It's thinking about this could be a company that I could do some business with. And that's what ends up happening. So I think that it's a different kind of event. Maybe that's the thing that people might not know. It's not your normal get together, go to the trade show floor and see what's new, have cocktail parties and enjoy yourself. It is thought leadership. And it's for people who are really thoughtful about the future of their company and that incorporates wellness and the future of wellness. We define wellness, and we have defined wellness tourism, and we have defined wellness real estate. And now we are in the process of looking at longevity because that is a new term that's becoming part of this conversation. We take our time and we use our research firm, SRI, initially, and then we ended up hiring the researchers from SRI.
I'm sure SRI is thrilled about that.
You know what? It was very mutual because what we were doing was not the big contracts that they were looking for. They were looking to work with big companies, and we were small.
Right.
So we weren't a huge revenue stream for them. And the 2 researchers that worked with us and with them were ready to leave because they wanted to work more part-time. So it just turned out to be a win-win, and it's worked out ever since because they've been with us since that time.
Now, the Global Wellness Summit is also when you release the very famous bubble chart.
Yes, that's correct.
That comes out every year.
Yes.
When you release data, there's a whole industry around data visualization. I'm curious, was there any thought process as to why a bubble chart? And then obviously, how does that bubble chart help people build their businesses out?
First of all, we were not, and I am certainly not, an expert on data graphics and so on. So that's why we hired SRI International. And they were extremely helpful. And then the researchers, they are the ones that presented, and they know that you need to present numbers in a way that people can remember them. What it turned out that the bubble chart, it wasn't there day one, but there were categories. Because one of the things they taught us right away is that when we look at that time spa industry, we changed it to wellness about 10 years later. But when you look at that, you don't just look at the revenue of the entities. There's a whole other part of it, like education in that arena or marketing in that arena. So it's not just the entities. They helped us see that there was a bigger picture. And right after our first research report, we saw the term wellness coming on the horizon. And so the next research report was on wellness, looking at the history of
Was
the
it combined
term.
or was it separate?
What do you mean combined?
So you did an independent research report on wellness?
Yes, every year we did a research report. The first one was the global spa industry. The second one was on wellness and how that might fit in with spa. The researchers looked at where does the word wellness come from and so on. And what we realized at that time is that when you start talking with governments or companies, that spa was a little bit elitist, and they're not going to be investing in the spa industry or maybe even in corporate wellness. Corporate wellness was a term that was acceptable, but not spa. So we recognized that the term wellness was a valuable term, but we also learned through our research that the word spa is very attractive to consumers. And it's like, how do you use both of those terms? And what ended up happening is the spa industry or the spa segment was part of the umbrella that eventually became wellness. And then wellness tourism and wellness real estate and mental wellness and some of these other categories came up. And every year since we did research, in the beginning, sometimes spent our resources on certain categories. The wellness research was the first. Then later we did, a couple years later, wellness tourism. And then we started redoing the financial numbers because we didn't do them every year because it was very expensive to do and it wasn't really necessary. The numbers changed, but not dramatically. Now, because the whole ecosystem of 11 sectors is so large, right now it's 6.8 trillion. That was the number that we released, and the bubble chart is, in fact, I have it here. I don't know if we can show it in any way.
We can do a screenshot of it.
You can do a screenshot.
Yeah, we'll drop it in.
Okay, good, because that is so popular now because it's a good way for people to understand wellness. So 6.8 trillion is the economy of wellness for a year globally. And then there are bubbles underneath. So, for example, personal care and beauty is a very large bubble, 1.3 billion. Physical activity is a bubble at 1.1 billion. Wellness tourism is a bubble. Healthy eating, nutrition, and weight loss is a bubble. Wellness real estate is a bubble. And all of those bubbles have numbers. And the research report, and by the way, they are available to everyone. It's something that we've done that I'm very happy and proud about, that it has helped the industry so much and helps everyone in the industry to be able to access the numbers without cost.
And yeah, it's free to download, right?
It is free to download, which is unusual, but we've stayed with that, and it's at the Global Wellness Institute.org website. All of our research is there, old research, new research, and the latest is the Global Wellness Economy report, the latest one with all the figures. And that helps people, businesses see. And workplace wellness, by the way, is a big, important part. It is a small bubble that needs to become bigger. But there's good numbers there and some good information about why it has been lagging a bit and what can be done.
I just read an article that your organization shared from Fast Company from a gentleman named Mark, and I'm blanking on his last name. I reached out to him because we're going to try to get him on the show. And it was about workplace wellness. And that in 25, there was a bit of a shift where a lot of people said, enough is enough. I don't want to work like this. I'm done, and started leaving toxic workplaces.
Yes.
Much like our friends that we tell to leave the toxic relationship that never does. So it was a really interesting article that talked about 2026 is the year where companies, investors, VC firms, because that seems to be who's running the world at the moment, understand that taking care of people and that people who are happy and healthy are more productive than people who are ground to the ground and burn out. I think the workplace wellness bubble needs to get bigger.
And see, our figures bear that out because every year we do our figures, and The workplace wellness bubble is the one that has increased the least of 11 bubbles. And by the way, the one that's runaway success is wellness real estate. Because of COVID, people are investing and wanting to live in healthy places.
Oh, that place in Dubai that had the model. It looked like you lived in Avatar. I think it was Evia? Aldar. Okay.
Yes. And then the other one you're talking about too is, yes, with trees and all of that.
It looked like a giant treehouse.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we saw, and that we see this with the figures, that people want to live places that are healthy, but they also want to work in places that are healthy because they're really at work more often than they are at home, or at least the same amount. The research showed that the workplace wellness arena did not increase that much since COVID. Part of it is also because people were working at home. So there wasn't as much investment by companies in terms of programming and that sort of thing. But the reality is that people are recognizing that people want to invest in their health. And so that is more important than perhaps going to an office and having a yoga class. No longer is that really the thing that makes the difference. Companies that have healthy workforces, where they save the most money, it used to be thinking, oh, healthcare costs and whatever. People move around a lot, so the healthcare costs are minimal. Where they save money immediately is in that they keep their employees. That's the big keep.
Retention.
It's retention. And that can be measured very easily. Companies that have a healthy workforce and a healthy environment and people stay, that's where the value is. And now companies are starting to realize that. And so there's more effort to make it very attractive to stay with the company and recognizing there's some nuances to doing that. It isn't about the yoga class or the nutrition lecture. It is more about facilitating community between people, having time off and being flexible, and some of the softer things that are actually the most important.
Okay, we're going to go back a little bit. I want to dig into Global Wellness Institute, its mission, and the 5 pillars. Can you share the mission, and then can you give us a little bit of a rundown on what the 5 pillars are behind the Global Wellness Institute?
Yes. So just to set the context, the Global Wellness Summit started first. That was 20 years ago. It started as the Global Spa Summit, then became Global Wellness Summit. And then what happened is that every year we brought out valuable research. And we ended up with a little bit of a conundrum, is that people were referencing the Global Wellness or Global Spa Summit as the research. And that didn't make any sense, because who wants to say that the research is from a summit? That's when we realized that we need to have a Global Wellness Institute that can thrive not only with the research, but with other opportunities to help people. So 10 years ago, we started the Global Wellness Institute. And the 5 pillars, the first one was research, and still is, because that's what we're known for. And then initiatives. We have about 30 initiatives, because there's a lot of segments like wellness for cancer, wellness for children, or hydrothermal aspects of spas. These have different initiatives. So we have a fabulous leader, all volunteer, running the initiatives, and then they present a deliverable every year. Then we have wellness evidence. And wellness evidence was something we introduced when we had our summit in Bali, because at that time, and even more now, people recognize that evidence is important, because there's a lot of wellness washing out there. There's a lot of people saying, oh, this works or that works, or take these supplements. We were always very aware that medical evidence was important. What we learned is it exists. It's just, it was hard to find. Because the only people that were able to find it, this was in Bali in 2012, were medical doctors, because they had access to databases that we didn't. Then we learned that now, as the technology was advancing in the internet, all of a sudden PubMed, for example, was now available to people. But it was not easy to figure out how to navigate it. And then there were starting to be other websites. So we put together a group, 3 doctors and myself, and we put together a website that is now called Wellness Evidence. And you can get it through our website, or you can go directly to wellnessevidence.com. And what we did is we pulled out a really easy way for people to find evidence for modalities that we knew were in wellness. For example, you could go to the website, click on massage, and it'll take you right away into PubMed and the research on massage. Then we added 2 other databases, Cochrane and also a trip database. And now we've added an AI component. So people can actually go in. I end up getting lost there. I love being in.
We're going to talk more about it. Trust me.
Okay. So you can find the research. And some of it is very favorable. Oh my gosh, massage helps with stress reduction and this. But it also shows massage is not going to cure an eye problem, that sort of thing. So you can really find the evidence that's there.
Okay. I think we have 2 pillars left.
Yes. The other pillar is the Wellness Moonshot.
Love a good moonshot.
The Wellness Moonshot. The Wellness Moonshot is a world free of preventable disease. And we launched that when we were at the Breakers.
That's like the biggest moonshot ever.
But that's what moonshots are. They're like, wow.
Yeah.
But preventable disease, that's what really is being discussed now. A lot of disease is preventable if we're eating better and exercising and reducing stress and taking care of ourselves and connecting with each other. On our board is Dr. Richard Carmona. He was the 17th Surgeon General of the U.S. He is fantastic. And he's so passionate about wellness and preventable disease because he was a Surgeon General and a medical doctor. And he realized that 75% of the people he was working with, or dealing with when he was a doctor, it could have been preventable. Had they been healthier, had they not gained weight and whatever, they wouldn't have had these issues. So he started becoming very much an advocate of prevention early on. He loves what we do. He helps us with what we do. And he really helped us see that is something that could be a moonshot. The reason we did a moonshot is we had a summit in Florida, and we had with us Dr. Mehmet Oz, we had Dean Ornish, we had Andrew Weil, Michael Roizen from Cleveland. We had all these medical people. And before the summit, I talked to each of them and I asked them, what is working out there? And they all started saying, it's my program that works. It's my program, my 6 steps, my 10 program, whatever. Reversing heart disease was another one from California. And I realized this is not something we're all collaborating on. This is not going to work. So talking with Rich Carmona, we realized we need to come up with something that everyone can get behind. The medical doctors as well as the wellness professionals. And Rich said it's a world free of preventable disease. Yes, there can be this program or that program, but that's where we're going. It's a way to define prevention without using that term because it's not a real sexy term.
I think also probably if you were to take each of those programs, drop them all into ChatGPT or let AI meta-analyze them, there's probably some key things in there that are very basic.
To all of them.
Across every single program. We had the executive director of the World Federation of Public Health Associations, the longest association name I've ever heard of, but she's a professor, a PhD, and an MD. And I asked her, why did you get out of medicine? I think I might have actually phrased it, why did you leave healthcare? And she goes, because it's not healthcare, it's disease care.
Disease care, yes.
There's so many things that are preventable and we're not taking care of it. So I wanted to get into the public health space to try to focus on prevention.
Yes.
So Wellness Moonshot, that's massive.
A world free of preventable disease.
World free of preventable disease. Right. Last pillar?
Geography of wellness.
Geography of wellness.
Because what we realized, and this was an evolution, is that countries are very now interested in the health and wellness of their people and to attract tourism. Look at Thailand, which is where we're going for the next Global Wellness Summit.
And before we got there, I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been from you, might have been from my sleuthing on the internet. Their head of tourism announced that wellness tourism was going to be a major growth engine for them.
Yes. And that is because we have the research that they've used and others have used. And after COVID, what the countries learned is that marketing their wellness tourism was the quickest way to attract tourism back because people were interested in travel, but also healthy travel. What we learned through years of being in the industry is that there are indigenous wellness practices everywhere in the world that are so fun to learn about and exciting and very, very effective. In Thailand, for example, there's Thai massage that's become famous everywhere, but it is Thai massage. In Japan, you have the onsens. In India, you have Ayurveda. And so what we found early on is that encouraging each country to promote their indigenous practices is something that helps their culture, their people, their status in the world. And so, yes, wellness tourism has become something that is a worldwide way of traveling, and now post-COVID, one of the most important parts of travel, wellness tourism. So you're right, Thailand and others, Singapore and others, and even now Dubai and UAE, they are making wellness a big part of their attractions.
And Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
All I heard about besides Dubai when we were there was the Red Sea and the number of properties that are opening on the Red Sea
Yes.
and the extensive offerings that are going to be there for wellness.
They're all focusing on wellness because they realize that's the future. And also the environment and the health of the environment is part of it too. But yes, Saudi Arabia, 38 big hotels in a place that there used to be nothing, all focused on wellness in different ways. And of course, Saudi and UAE, they do some exciting things. They are very bold. And what I'm impressed with is that they and others now, Thailand, Singapore also, are serious about wellness, not just for attracting visitors, but for their countrymen.
Yes.
And that's not as easy to get people involved. Yes, people go to an expensive resort. That's one thing. But how do you get your citizens to get involved with health? And that's happening.
What
now.
I saw in Dubai when we were there, and I don't know if this was all part of the grand plan. You can just take credit for it if you want. But we were in Dubai during Global Wellness Summit during their 30 for 30 exercise that they do. Dubai Health Administration wants Dubai to be the healthiest place in the world. And so the month of November, they want every person to move for 30 minutes for 30 days. I took part in the 10K that happened.
Did you? That's
Yes,
in Dubai?
with 360,000 other people.
Oh my gosh.
It was the biggest thing I had ever been a part of. There were parts that were a little rough just because there's so many people. I think I walked 1.5 miles just to get to the start line. I was like, does this count? And they had festival grounds. So when you went and go get your shirt, you went to this festival grounds. There was open air workouts for people. There was different workouts. There was basketball courts. There was racquetball. There was pickleball. There was dancing. There was all these different modalities so that anyone at any level could just move. And I thought to myself, I've never seen that in any city anywhere in the US where there's been enough investment directly into the people, because a healthier population benefits everyone. It takes stress off the hospitals, it takes stress off the ER, it takes stress off the EMS, it takes stress off police. It benefits everyone. So to see them, there's 2 buildings that had 30 by 30 scrolling on their LED boards on the rooftops. I was like, okay, they clearly really care about this. So it's great to see that municipalities, for lack of a better term, are investing in their own people to look out for them, because they're starting to understand the benefits of a healthy population as well.
Exactly. And this is where numbers start coming in again, because it saves money. Ultimately, people are recognizing that if you spend more on getting your people healthy, or keeping them healthy rather, you're going to spend less on healthcare costs. And so that's starting to get across to a lot of countries. And it's so interesting to see that's one of the reasons our global wellness event, and you ask about things people know or don't know about it, we move around. And that's exactly why we do it. Because if you are doing a meeting just in the same place all the time,
that's boring, personally.
It's limiting, but we move around. So we were in Dubai and we're going to Thailand. The year before we were in Scotland, and we've done this for 20 years. So we have learned, we learned what Dubai is doing. We learned what Mexico City is doing and Singapore is doing. And then we can share that learning with each other. And so more municipalities are seeing, that's working over here. Maybe we can borrow from that. And so in general, we see more countries interested. And that's why the geography of wellness is the 5th pillar. And we have partnerships with different countries. And then we share and give visibility to what they're doing. And others learn from it. And of course, they're proud about it. And I'd like to have a partnership with every country in the world and really showcase what they're doing. Like in Dubai, that's very unique. Yeah. I agree with you. I don't know of any other country that would have that many people at an event and invest and make it probably free or very
it was totally
inexpensive.
Free.
Yes.
I thought for sure I was going to have to pay something. No, just come out. You can run, you can walk. We don't care. Just come out, be a part of it. This is going to be my meeting planner side of me that's going to come out for a hot second. You don't have to answer this, but I'm going to plant the seed. I hope and encourage that when you go out to bid for your RFPs for Global Wellness Summit, you are challenging them to include from that CVB, DMO, whatever they happen to be, the destination management or the tourism office, what they're doing to better the health of their citizens as part of their response. That should be part of the response, my 2 cents, because then I think what you're getting into in a sense of, are they trying to earn the business or is this something they believe in?
That is a very good idea. And on that note, we should probably add it to the paperwork, which we don't, but they're bringing it to us. Thailand is a perfect example. They have asked us, and we're looking at doing this. We're trying to figure out how to do this. Because obviously, when people come to our summit, it's not inexpensive. It's $5,000-$6,000, and it's invitation only, and it's C-suite executives. However, the value of what's presented is so important. Citizens, like in Thailand, they're not going to be able to come. So what we're doing is they've asked us to figure out a way, if we can, and we're collaborating with them, on how we can stream some of what we're doing for their population. And so that's what we're working out, so that it will go beyond just the meeting itself, but that aspects of the meeting could be shared. And we would love to collaborate with them on maybe some events they might do on the date of our summit. So you're absolutely right. That is the direction. And we have work to do, but maybe some of your meeting audience would enjoy working with us on that.
Yeah, I know some people.
Okay, I figured you do.
Let's dig into wellness evidence.
Okay.
This is what got me so excited when I was there and I learned about it, because the point of this podcast was to be evidence-based. The point of our company is to be evidence-based. We just launched a new offering called Circadian Cove, the wellness lounge at a conference, but it was programmed with a human performance PhD on timing what we offered when. Because you're at different places energetically, both throughout the day and from day 1 to day 3, because you're just in a different place. So we said it was grounded in science, but designed for humans. The point of it being, though, is we wanted to ensure that our offerings had evidence behind them and that we weren't doing puppy yoga because it was cute. We were doing puppy yoga because it fosters neuroplasticity, because you're doing something that you may do on a regular basis. You might do yoga 5 days a week. All of a sudden, when you're involved with an animal who's going to do whatever they do, you have to be more alert. You're actually more attentive. So then what's happening in your brain is completely different than if you were doing one of your normal yoga classes where you might get more into a meditative state. I think one of the things that I'd be curious about, I want to talk a little more about that. And then one of the things that I'd like to ask is, does any of it include, let's call it minimum effective dose? And here's why I ask, and it's indirectly your fault. We did one of the post-event excursions and we went to this place called Brain Dubai. We also went to a longevity spa prior. We went to the longevity spa and they had a spa grade hyperbaric chamber. And then when we went to Brain Dubai, they are a medical grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy venue. That's all they do. It's the one thing they do.
They have a lot of large tanks that you walk into. Okay, I've been there, yes.
And their chief medical officer spoke to us, talked to us, et cetera, et cetera. And we said, okay, what about if you go to a longevity spa? We'd been there. He goes, here's what I can tell you. Based on the research that has been done, you don't really see any benefits, or we didn't find any benefits currently under X atmospheres. I don't want to misquote him, but I think it was like, if you're under 2 atmospheres for 2 hours a day, daily for 3 weeks, that's when the changes started to happen that they saw. So if you're in a spa grade hyperbaric chamber for a half hour once, they didn't see anything happen. It wasn't necessarily negative, but it was okay, fine. That's why I talk about minimum effective dose. I don't know that's included, but digging back into wellness evidence, sorry, I know we took a little detour there. How are you figuring out what things to source? And then you said there's 3 doctors that help vet the information on if something is effective or not?
The 3 doctors helped us develop the way people can access the databases.
Okay.
Because nobody can vet the databases themselves. PubMed, they have their process of how you get into PubMed, or Cochrane. One of the reasons we added Cochrane is because it is the most strict database that medical doctors use. And obviously the credibility is there. So it isn't a matter of us doing this. It's a matter of accessing the research, because there's research all over the world. Hyperbaric is a good example because I've been to that hyperbaric place in Dubai and also the original one in Tel Aviv, where we had the head person speaking at our event. Hyperbaric is a really exciting opportunity and a way for people to improve their health. Hospitals have used hyperbaric for a long time for burns. That's where it started. Someone has a burn, they go into a hyperbaric protocol, and it really improves their burns. So now we have these hyperbaric chambers that are into spas or into medical clinics or longevity clinics. And then you have the huge ones like in Dubai, and there's one in Florida and in Tel Aviv. So a person really needs to do their own research. And you can get into the databases. That's why we did wellness evidence under hyperbaric. In fact, hyperbaric is one of the modalities. So if you go to the website, click on hyperbaric, it gets you into the database, and then you get to look around. And that's when people learn there's small hyperbaric, there's large hyperbaric, there's where they adjust the pressure or it stays the same. It's something that people have to individually learn about. It's very difficult to those that are doing these huge hyperbaric chambers or suites are doing amazing work, but they adjust the pressure and there's a whole protocol, 30 days or 90 days and so on. Some of the hyperbaric in, for example, medical spas where they're doing a lot of beauty treatments and so on have been very effective for people to heal more quickly. And then there are all kinds of hyperbaric chambers. Same thing with cryotherapy. What's the temperature? Who makes it? And is it electric or gas? So people have to do a little bit of research.
But that's what the website's for, right?
That's what the website is for, and we encourage people to ask the question, but at least it's a conversation that's happening. That's why we have become an authority, not on each individual modality, but on helping people find the research and feel more comfortable with the credibility. So that's what we do. That's what the mission of the Global Wellness Institute is, empowering wellness worldwide. And we are wanting to focus on evidence and encourage that conversation. And people are smart now. They are asking those questions. They're not just saying, oh, I'll take this and it'll do everything you say it's going to do.
I think there's also some Dunning-Kruger effect for some people as well, because there's a lot of people learning about things that they've never learned about. Right. And they learn a little bit. They're like, oh, I know all the things, myself included, because I've been on, this is year 4 of the podcast, but I've been in fitness. I feel very good about my fitness knowledge. I know there's a lot of other things that I should always ask more questions on because I just not there yet. That's why I was excited about the website. Transitioning a little bit into event ROI, what are some filters you apply when it comes to what you could offer at events? Because I know there was a big sponsor floor. There was a lot of different things there, and people were offering them in different capacities. Some you could experience, some were just for show. How are you thinking about what kind of modalities could potentially fit at an event versus not?
There's the part about how you create the event, and then there's who are some of the sponsors. To me, those are a little bit separate. I think that the DNA of our event is connection and community. That is the most important piece. And so how we put it together, that's the most, for example, I'm known for this in a positive and negative way, is that all of our lunches are sit down. We're not standing around eating. And they have to be at 48-inch round tables. Now, for meeting planners, they will say...
It's like a 6-person round.
Exactly. 6-person rounds are where you can have one conversation and everybody's part of the conversation. If you have a large table of 8, 10, or 12, you're talking to the person on the left, on the right, and you are not having one conversation. It's too loud. You can't hear. So we have insisted on this since day one. And it's part of the secret sauce of our event because each of the lunches are topic hosted. I don't know if you went, or do you remember where you went to?
Unfortunately, I went to fortunately, I don't know. I went to the first day was the media lunch. And the second day was the ambassador lunch. So I didn't get to experience, but I did hear about it.
And you did experience the 6-person 48-inch round tables because we had them in both. And because then you have one conversation and it's a different experience. Plus, of course, it's healthy food and so on. But when we have 550 people, we'll have 90, 100 tables of 6 people each with different topics. And people can choose where they want to go. And whoever shows up there first gets to sit down. And then you get to sit with Dr. Richard Carmona or Dr. Michael Roizen or David Asprey or whoever is there. And you have a conversation about a certain topic, whether it's biohacking or evidence medicine or longevity or whatever. And so the connection piece is a really important part of what we do, because that's what we know lasts. That's where we know business is done and thought leadership can take place. And when we have our showroom floor, for example, it's not open all the time because we want people to be in the sessions. Because the sessions are where there's discussion, thought leadership. We always talk about the future. So then the showroom is closed. But we do have it open during times where we encourage interaction, obviously, with people. So the whole event is, I would say the DNA is about the community part of it.
I think hitting on that social connection, there was just the study, I think I shared it with you, that another one of the guests, Dr. Juliana Holt-Lundstad, her and a team of people worked on 25 years of social connection in America and where we're at. And looking at the opportunity events really have, they have an opportunity to heal people. And that's one of the other things I talked with someone else about. These conferences, and actually this is where I got to know Dr. Bettina, because she saw me speak and I came and spoke with her afterwards because she was intrigued by my topic. And she introduced me and I was like, okay, I better nail this. And I talked to her afterwards. I said, what did you think? And she goes, I think you're underestimating yourself. And I said, I'm sorry, what do you mean? And she said, you think you're doing wellness at events, but what you're actually doing is public health. Because when you bring people together, you have an opportunity to help them or potentially harm them. And you have to think about what you're doing and if it's helping them or harming them. Case in point, we went through the pandemic, and if you brought 500 people together and somebody showed up with COVID and everybody left with COVID, you're on the hook for that. And if something goes terribly wrong, that's going to come back to you as to where it happened, why weren't protocols followed, et cetera, et cetera. But when you look at that gathering from the public health lens, oh, I guess we are. Then you take that social connection concept of the fact that people who are experiencing loneliness and isolation, their health is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's the decline they're experiencing. And their all-cause mortality goes up. So by what you're doing at your event, the other thing you're also doing on top of it that she talked about she does in her classrooms is connection before content. So one, small group conversations is something people are in the events world at large are starting to wake up to. Having people at a round table also instead of a king's table, once again, everyone literally physically has a equal seat at the table. But two, by bringing the barrier down for people who might be a little more socially awkward than others by having a topic for them to jump into, because there's no shortage of opinions in that room. You can create real meaningful connection, even some potential fun discourse, because not everyone agrees on everything, regardless of where you are. So to be able to have those conversations, but people are having those meaningful conversations that are leaving them from the event in a different mindset, let alone they can debrief from the topics they already heard, what they learned versus what someone else learned, because we all take different things away. I guess I just wanted to congratulate you and say, I hope you understand the significance of what you're doing, because sometimes when we're in the weeds of planning things, we don't realize the macro level impact it can have.
I think the exciting thing for the whole meeting arena is that it's people's desire. It's an evolutionary development in us that we want to gather and we want to be with other people. And so the meeting space, that's what they offer. It is already, no matter how good the content is or bad the content, the fact that you're getting people together is a big plus. And then if you can do that in a better way with maybe smaller tables or groups or healthy food and maybe less.
Healthy food makes a big difference too, because if you're feeding people food that spikes their blood sugar at lunch, what happens when they go into the session?
Exactly. And fresh air. We used to meet at JP Morgan for our symposium in New York, and they had a room that had so much more fresh air circulating through than any other place. Nobody fell asleep in the afternoon. I was amazed. Yes, we had a healthy lunch, but it was because of the structure of the meeting space that made it so much easier to pay attention. So there's a lot of things that people can do, but it's the connection part and the community part that is really part of the secret sauce of meetings that not everybody recognizes. And they don't need to recognize it, but they will come back to your meeting if they've had a good experience.
I say the best wellness is the wellness you don't even notice.
Yes.
Mostly when it comes to events. There was a Freeman study 2 years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with Freeman. They're a big exhibit house kind of thing. They put out this study and asked people why they attend events. And wellness was one of the options. Like 3% of people said that.
No, they're not going to claim.
They don't go for wellness. If they want wellness, they'll go to a wellness retreat.
Exactly.
Or they'll stay home because most events don't offer any wellness.
Exactly.
They go for education. They go for camaraderie. They go for networking, all of those things. But when their survey this year talked about people wanted lower cognitive load. So when you make absorbing the information and connecting with people easier, you're lowering that cognitive load, and it's undercover wellness.
Yeah, that's a very good term, and that's very effective.
Yeah, I know one of the places at the Mandarin Oriental in Dubai that we were at, one of the lunch venues was outside, and it was packed every time because people love being outdoors.
Yes.
The sunlight, it's good for their eyes, it's good for their microbiome, it's good for all the things.
Exactly.
As we start to wrap up here, the Wellness Evidence website is free as well, right?
Yes.
Pretty much everything on the Global Wellness.
Everything on the Global Wellness Institute website is available for free. We also have opportunities for people if they want to become an ambassador. There's $1,000 a year for that. The geography of wellness, the countries pay for that because they get extra research. But basically, for people, there's so much value in the different pillars, and it's all available there.
Beautiful. Okay. The question, I got to come up with a new question for the year that we're going to ask every guest is, if you could give event participants one thing they could keep doing after they fly home, what is it? And what is the smallest minimum effective dose that will move the needle?
What they could do for their wellness?
Yeah.
In all the bubbles we talk about, and all the research, and we have a lot of medical people talk about exercise as probably, and even Dr. Carmona mentioned this, it's movement that really keeps people young, longer, less weight, and so on. So I think movement is probably the number one thing. I'm not sure that people necessarily will go to a meeting to learn that. I'm just saying that in general, we are better off putting attention on movement than probably anything else. That's what a lot of the medical professionals are saying. And it's certainly been my personal experience.
There was also just an article, Gallup had a survey that women experience more stress reduction from exercise than men do.
Possibly.
It was based on the survey result.
Okay.
It was fascinating. I was like, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to see if you had any trends you could share because this is airing in line with your press event.
Indeed. We have our press event on the 27th in New York.
/today, if you're listening.
And we always come out with the top trends. By the way, last year, 25, one of the trends was about how longevity is redefining work and the workplace. So that's an interesting trend. But I have a few trends here that will be announced today that I think might be of interest. They're all of interest to me. But I think women getting their own lane in longevity is something that's interesting. We have the over-optimization backlash. I'm wearing my ring, you're wearing your ring and watch, and we're all doing all of this. And now there's a little bit of maybe this is stressing me out a little bit.
I had a friend who had a Whoop. It was bad for me because I was so obsessed with it.
Yes.
It was giving me anxiety. I was freaking out all the time.
Yeah.
Good. Love it.
So the over-optimization backlash is going to be something interesting. The festivalization of wellness, exactly what you were talking about with what happened in Dubai. You have 350,000 people and they're doing all these things. So there's raves and more festivals and so on.
Have you heard of Daybreaker?
No.
So it's basically a morning sober rave.
Oh, there you go. Yes, it's probably in this trend.
Yeah.
Because we have specialists writing it. Fragrance layering. Beauty is a big part of the wellness arena. So fragrance layering, and actually some of this comes from the Middle East, not just one fragrance, more fragrances being personalized in terms of your fragrances. Okay. Longevity residences. As I mentioned, this whole wellness real estate is a big thing, but now there's becoming a distinction between wellness real estate, a place that is very much about wellness, and a longevity residence. What would you think might be the difference?
I feel like there's medical grade access to things at a longevity residence versus a wellness residence is more air quality, food, movement, light.
Bingo.
Hey.
Congratulations, by the way. And you were paying a bit attention in Dubai. But really, that's what we're seeing, is that there is a diagnostic and medical part of a wellness community or residence that is starting to embrace and use the term longevity residence. But it's new, and that's what we do with our trends. This is predictive because longevity residences is not a term that we've been talking about a lot, but we think that you'll hear more about it.
So they're going to start flipping senior care homes into longevity?
Yes, exactly right.
I was thinking, I'm like, wait,
Yes.
That's almost like a senior care home because there's medical care there for them if need be.
That's correct. And you know that term senior care? Not so sexy.
Yeah, agreed.
You don't want to go, but longevity, that, and exactly right, there's medical there. So that's very wise. And on that note, and this is another trend, the term anti-aging is now phasing out, and we're talking more about longevity skincare, similar kind of reason.
Yeah.
So those are just some, and there's a few more.
I look forward to getting the entire list today. I think that event starts at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
This airs 1 hour before that.
Okay.
So I hope they listen. They'll get the sneak preview.
They'll get a sneak preview. Yes, indeed.
Perfect.
And we also announce from our research the top countries that are investing in wellness. That's always something that we announce in January. So lots of information. For people who really want to be cutting edge on what's happening in wellness, that's an event. And we stream it too. So people can get it streaming. There is a cost for that, but it's very cutting edge. It's the newest trends and it's the newest research.
I'm going to Abu Dhabi in February to talk about what is happening. Most of the times when I speak, what I try to do is understand what's happening in the wellness space, what's happening here, what's happening there, where are people spending their money, et cetera, so that then us as planners can understand where people are that are showing up so that we can meet them where they are, that they have a incredible experience and don't have to compromise their at-home values or practices when they come to an event. So
Great.
I look forward to it very much.
Thank you for what you're doing. I think it's a whole space that needs health and wellness, and you're providing something very important.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for being on. And thank you to all of you for tuning into this first episode of season 4 of Return on Wellness. Make sure you scan the QR code at the end to check out Caesar's wellness menu. We will see you on the next one next month. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining Return on Wellness. For more information on Caesars Entertainment's offerings, please scan the QR code. Make sure to subscribe to be notified when our next episode is out.